Architects is currently one of the most popular bands in the world, with millions of monthly listeners playing the biggest festivals, but in order to get there, believe me, they had to go through a lot together. I mean, I'm sure you all know about Doomsday, but what about the early days? What about the MySpace era? Don't you want to know how everything started? Well, if so, you're in luck, because today I will tell you their entire story as a band from 2004 to 2025. That's right, 20 years in a single video. If it's your first time here, my name is Yan. I make videos about heavy music, mostly focusing on deathcore and metalcore, especially the MySpace era. I'm kind of obsessed with it. So if you enjoy that kind of content, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel because it helps me a lot. So with all that being said, my friends, it's finally time to sit back and relax as we dive into the rise of Architects, the full story. Before starting the video, I just want to say thank you to all my Patreons. I may not have many yet, but you guys are making such a big difference and I appreciate you. When you subscribe on Patreon, you get access to tons of exclusive content, behind the scenes, vlogs even, food, whatever. It's basically the behind the scenes of my life, if you will. On top of that, you support me and the channel at a higher level, so if it's something that interests you, feel free, the link is in the description. So the band was founded in 2004 in Brighton, England, and at first it wasn't even called Architects yet, it was called Counting the Days. Sam Carter wasn't even a vocalist yet, he was playing drum at the time, he was even studying drums, if you can believe that. I thought it was pretty impressive. The actual vocalist was Matt Johnson. As for the rest of the lineup, they had Dan Searle on drums, his twin brother Tom Searle, hope I'm pronouncing it right, on guitar, Tim Hillier-Brook also on guitar, and Tim Lucas on bass. In 2005, they finally decided to rename the band as Architects, and they released their very first demo. Pretty weird demo, but actually very good in my opinion. It was rough around the edges, as most bands in 2005, let's be honest. It's kind of all over the place, but in a good way, from post-hardcore to almost techie deathcore. Like, to me, it was kind of a mix between Goodbye to the Gallows by Immure and Commons Men's Collapse by Veil of Maya, if you will. For a first release, it was actually pretty good, I think. It was a good start. Speaking of which, believe it or not, this 2 songs demo really paid off because not too long after the release, they officially signed to 2 different independent labels, Distort Entertainment and In at the Deep End Records, which I'm pretty sure was mostly for distribution, I could be wrong, but still 2 very solid labels who had worked with big names in the scene like Alex is on Fire, Bleeding True, Suicide Silence, and tons of other amazing bands in the scene. So with their new deals and their new labels, the band went back in the studio to record with Carl Barham, who tragically passed away, rest in peace, which brings us to May 2006, when Architects officially released Nightmares. Very good album. I mean, it's basically a better version of the demo, which was the goal. You know, you get signed early on, so you want to know how it would sound. The same vibe, but in a different setting, bigger studio and all that. And they really succeeded. It's actually insane, the level of talent already, as I said, but in only a year, you could hear it. You know, they all improved on their instruments. So yeah, all in all, amazing album. They actually tried a lot of different things on this one, including clean singing, which reminded me of Mice and Men for some reason. They also had epic, emotional, intense moments in there. Other parts reminded me of Norma Jean. The breakdowns were awesome. I mean, I could go on and on about this album, but for those who never heard it, I really recommend. It's full of emotion and intensity through the entire thing. You won't be disappointed. Unfortunately, not too long after the release, their bassist Tim had to quit the band and was quickly replaced by Alex Dean, who is still their bass player to this day. It was a very big year for Architects. I mean, they released their first official video for the song In the Desert. They were also playing tons of shows with Bring Me the Horizon right in their Count Your Blessings era, which obviously was insane. After months of touring and promoting the album, Matt also decided to quit the band. Now, I know, in most cases, it could potentially signify the end of a band, but for Architects, as we all know, it was only the beginning. Matt still left in good terms, apparently, and went on to create his very own project called Whitemare. Right as they were looking for their new vocalist, they saw a very young Sam Carter performing. Needless to say, they were really impressed, they instantly wanted him to join, and apparently they went to his job afterwards to offer him to come at a few band practice, which he did, and it was a instant connection, kind of a lightning in a bottle type of moment. As much as it was fun and exciting for Sam, it was also really stressful because the band was already in the process of writing a new album. Even though it had only been a year since the Nightmares release, the band really felt like they were ready to step in a new direction and showcase how much they improved as musicians. Having only a few weeks to write all the lyrics, Sam took inspiration from his own personal experience, and he was able to deliver something that they were all excited about, which I thought was pretty impressive. The album was originally set to be released in June, according to their MySpace profile, but they ended up releasing it in October instead, as they were doing the Cleansing the Nation tour. And talking about that, I mean, what a tour! Suicide Silence, the Cleansing Era, Immure, Beneath the Massacre, After the Burial. What a freaking lineup! Anyway, the important thing was that in October 2007, Architects finally released their brand new album called Ruin. I absolutely love this album. There could be some level of nostalgia involved here because it was my personal introduction to the band, but still, I remember being shocked of how versatile it really is. I mean, certain part reminded me of Underoath, while having hardcore riffs, sick breakdowns, blast beats, something I would call post-hardcore bouncy riffs. I really think Sam did a fantastic job on this album, even though apparently he didn't really know how he was able to scream, it just kind of happened.
I want to know how you growl and scream. Like, is it something that you practice, or did it just like?
I don't know how it happened.
It just came.
It just happened, yeah.
And then.
Well, that's a real insight. That's a real insight. That's the answer.
I don't know. I think with screaming and stuff, it's like you can either do it or you can't. Really, you can't really teach someone how to do it. Do you know what I mean? I don't really know how I even started doing it, but I guess it just happens. It's weird. It's something that's completely like unnatural. You know, you shouldn't do that with your voice. Like you shouldn't shout. Do you know what I mean? But I guess just through trial and error, it just kind of got how it is now.
I think it's pretty interesting how we didn't really know how to scream. There was no real tutorial, no real terms. It was just kind of, you would hear a good vocalist and try to replicate it without knowing where to start even. I fully remember trying to scream over Smashed Into Pieces. During another interview, Sam actually took time to explain what band made him fall in love with music and start to play drums as a kid.
I stumbled across a band called Blink-182, and it was like the first band I'd listened to, you know, like musicians that you could see, you know, there was like a drummer, bass player, guitarist, and I wanted to play drums. As soon as I saw Travis playing drums, I was like, I want to play drums, and started learning playing drums, and then stopped playing drums, and then started singing for the band. And yeah, literally that band inspired me so much to like actually make music. I have it tattooed on my leg.
If you've been watching any of my videos, you probably already know that I'm completely obsessed with Blink. Even as a kid, it was the very first band I've ever heard. I was like 8 or 9, I believe, and when I heard that, I was just, you know, I liked Sam already as a person. I've been watching a lot of podcasts and interviews, but hearing that Blink-182 was his first band as well, just, I don't know, I liked him even more, I guess. But yeah, to go back to the album, that's kind of when Architects became Architects, in the sense that the weird experimental parts, the melodies, the overall sound, really, it had more personality. It really felt like they had found their thing as a band. Ruin was very well received, charting at number 36 on the UK Independent Albums chart. The band was doing a great job at promoting it live, killing it. As you can see, Sam Carter was an amazing frontman and the perfect vocalist for Architects, full of passion and energy on stage. They started 2008 very well by signing to Century Media. It was a very big milestone for them, and I'm pretty sure it kind of happened as they were touring with Suicide Silence. You know, Suicide Silence was with Century, so I'm pretty sure that's kind of when it happened. But even if they were still on the fence, I mean, the success of Ruin probably made the difference. It truly was the beginning of a new era for the band. I mean, their new label in their corner, they were killing it on MySpace, tons of amazing sponsors, you know, the usual quote-unquote we made it moment as a band. They released 2 official videos for the song Always and Buried at Sea, both videos being extremely reminiscent of the MySpace era. Once again, speaking of which, I absolutely love the fact that they listed Final Fantasy VII and Mario Kart as their influences on MySpace. Then they re-released the album under Century Media, which is the version that I used to showcase the songs and everything, including the bonus track called Broken Clocks. They also did a split EP with a band called Dead Swans. At the end of the year, they did an amazing tour supporting Parkway Drive and tons of amazing other bands, which only made Architects even more popular. And believe it or not, as they were doing all these amazing things, they were also in the process of writing new music, which brings us to January 2009, when Architects officially released Hollow Crown. Such a great album, very iconic, but so different. I mean, it was a complete new direction, both musically and vocally. You could tell that something special was happening. I'm pretty sure that was the moment when Sam really found his voice, because as I mentioned earlier, back when he joined the band, he was rushed into it. But at this point with Hollow Crown, he had toured with them, he knew the guys and everything, so it only made sense that it would be more comfortable and natural. Now, if you've been watching my videos, you know I'm not the biggest fan of clean singing in metal, but I gotta say, on this album, it sounds incredible. In terms of screaming, to me, it wasn't as heavy, but it really matched the vibe they were going for, in my opinion. It kind of reminded me of Suicide Season by Bring Me the Horizon. By the way, I love how Architects and Bring Me the Horizon were progressing in a similar way, doing something different on each album, because as much as they got hated for it, I'm pretty sure it's a big part of why they're still on top today. As for the instrumental itself, I think there are pros and cons, and don't get me wrong, it was amazing, but when you make it more accessible and catchy, it's also a little less heavy per moments, especially during the breakdowns. That being said, it was extremely bouncy and groovy. Like I said, it was just more accessible and probably more fun to play live, because if we compare to the previous material, there was no mathcore or blasting or anything remotely close to deathcore in that way, which made it probably way easier for them to move on stage. In terms of classifying the band and its sound, it was a little difficult for them to explain.
So what genre of music do you consider like what you do to do?
I don't know, it's kind of hard because I wouldn't like to pigeonhole us in any sort of genre, but I guess we mix a couple of different sounds.
You know, a lot of people have been describing it as metalcore. Yeah. So that sounds really boring.
I guess it's kind of metal and hardcore mixed together, but not metalcore.
It's no, there's no other combination you can say that.
No.
So sorry about that.
So there was no specific strategy involved here, it was just a natural progression for them. No matter what the intention was, let me tell you, it worked. They did reach a way bigger audience with this one. The album did very well in terms of receptions, it peaked on 2 different charts, and it received so many great reviews, which was a rare thing, especially in metalcore, including a top rating from Kerrang! Magazine, which was huge. It also translated pretty quickly on MySpace with almost 4 million profile views by the end of the summer, which, for context, meant that you were extremely popular during those days. Then they released 2 official videos for the song Early Grave and Follow the Water. Nothing crazy here, but very well made in my opinion. Also, seeing Sam wearing some Drop Dead merch really brings you back, doesn't it? In terms of tours, in 2009, they did 2 headliners, which was another big milestone for the band. Once again, they were giving some incredible live performances. Hollow Crown really made an impact in the scene, so they basically toured on it even in 2010, but as usual, they were also in the process of writing new music, and by the end of the summer 2010, they had fully recorded a new album ready to be released.
Is it recorded? Is it still on that stage, or?
It's done. It's completely finished. We got the masters back yesterday. And we've completely finished. We're all really happy with it.
No artwork yet, but music's all
Yeah.
done. So yeah.
What can we expect?
It's a progression. It's a definite progression from the last record, and you know, it's something we're all really proud of, and we put a lot of time into. It's the same. Everyone gives the same kind of spiel every time they release a new record, but.
Well, we
this one
can't
is
say
really
that
important
we
to
can't
us.
say that the heavier bits are heavy and the melodic bits are more melodic, because the heavier bits probably aren't heavier,
No.
and the melodic bits are more. There's just more of them. It's maybe a bit less metal.
During the same interview, they talked about how it was to record an official video and how basically all the official videos look cheesy, and that's kind of why they always end up doing performance videos and stuff. I'm sharing it because I thought it was funny.
You know how a lot of music videos are pretty cheesy. I don't know, I can't bring myself to, especially the ones with the girl and the guy in, and the girl's running, and there's dust and rain or whatever. It's just like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't.
You could just do a video where you put like every cliche in the book in there,
Yeah.
and just cliche the hell out of it. That'd be pretty cool.
Just lots of heartbreak and gunfire.
Broken
people
glass,
running, broken glass,
punching a picture frame.
crying,
Mad.
plenty of crying.
Have emotions.
Bottle.
Normally we just end up doing like performance videos of just us playing,
horrible.
which is horrible.
You play the same song again and again and again and again.
You look
all
stupid,
day.
you feel stupid, it hurts. I don't want to moan, but I really am moaning about this.
It's all right. It's your interview. You can moan about what you want.
Yeah, it sucks.
To be fair, I think Tom really had a point. How many videos look exactly the same? Let's be real. Anyway, with the success of Hollow Crown, the fans were really excited and anticipating the new music from Architects, which brings us in December when they released a brand new single called Day In, Day Out. It was overall a very good song, but very pop. A lot of clean singing, which doesn't mean it's bad, but like a lot of bands during that era, their fans were hoping they would keep a lot of their heavy roots, and when you hear a lot of clean singing, needless to say, it's not a very good sign. That being said, with a band like Architects, you never know. They could do a super heavy song and a more poppy song, so people were still excited. Which brings us to January 2011, when Architects officially released They're Here and Now. Okay, it's a good album, but it's a complete departure from what it was. Like, it sounds like a complete different band to me, and to a lot of people. I was curious, so obviously I've watched interviews and I went online, and people were just, yeah, I would say confused. To me, and I'm not trying to be negative or disrespectful, again, it's a good album, but it basically sounded like Alex is on Fire. And don't get me wrong, I love Alex is on Fire, but hearing that sound from Architects, it's a different thing. That being said, I thought it was pretty cool how positive they were.
And we're always complaining about where our band is and where we feel like we should be, and it was just a realization that we should be really grateful and like happy where we are and live in the here and now.
Musically, the classic breakdowns were gone, the screams were not as heavy, it was just more accessible and pop. It was a new direction for them because they didn't want to do the same thing over and over again.
You can't stay the same band, you've got to progress. You have to progress musically, otherwise you just get bored. So we wanted to make a change, and we did. I think we successfully managed to do it. We'll find out.
Say whatever you want, but you gotta respect bands like Architects and Bring Me the Horizon who just do what they want and don't care about the bad reactions.
I'm proud of just doing what, that we had the guts to do what we wanted to do and not worry about all the, you know, people that...
The shits.
Singles and the shits. I think, you know, like I really like that people connected so much with our last record, and you know, obviously if they like that one and don't like this one, then that's a shame. But I hope that, you know, they can still enjoy what they did enjoy about our band, you know. But we couldn't not do what we wanted because of someone else, because that's never what we've done. No. We've never, and we did have more pressure to do that on this record than any other, and we didn't do it. And I think that's cool.
I think the one thing that I find very weird about seeing all the comments and stuff is when people say, this is a good record, but it's not an Architects record. I'd like this record if it was an Architects. Well, it is Architects. It is the same 5 people.
Pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we were in the studio doing it. Pretty sure we recorded Hollow Crown as well.
Because if that's not Architects, then who are we?
The reviews overall were very mixed, which is normal when you experiment, try a new direction, and you take a lot of risk like they did, but it was pretty funny how they were laughing about it and they didn't really care.
I just hope that we can write an album that annoys more people than this one did. Hope that's the goal. That's the goal.
Yeah.
If I can get death threats on the next one,
that'd be sick.
So we're going to start writing some really fucking offensive shit. Everything that everyone liked about this album, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone already.
Just forget about it.
Enjoy your
it's
time
scrapped.
with this. Enjoy your time with this record.
It's scrapped. The next one's going to be... I'm going to have to think about it for a while, but it's going to be it's going to be a difficult listen.
Believe it or not, despite the hate and the fans being triggered by the new sound and the new direction, the album itself did very well. I mean, it charted for the first time outside of the UK, which was a very big deal. In terms of presence online, this was unfortunately the downfall of MySpace back when they changed their layout for a weird one for a reason I'm never gonna understand, but it was never as bad as when we switched for Facebook during those years, which was the absolute biggest downgrade ever in terms of social medias. And this has nothing to do with Architects, by the way. They had quite a good momentum online. I just, in case you didn't notice, I miss MySpace quite a lot, and I'm not a big fan of Facebook, especially for bands and music. Then they released another video for the song Learn to Live, and it did very well with a good amount of views. Unfortunately, their bassist Alex had to quit for a while because of stuff that was happening in his personal life with his family, but he was back a few months later in the band. They spent most of the year touring with Bring Me the Horizon, who had just released their new album at the time. At this point, Bring Me was the biggest band in the scene. I mean, it was incredible. So I'm sure you can imagine how great of an opportunity it was for Architects to tour with them during that era. However, during one of those tours, Matt Nichols, Bring Me the Horizon drummer, broke his hand, and instead of cancelling the upcoming shows, Dan from Architects replaced him.
Dan is obviously playing with Bring Me.
He is, yeah.
How did that all happen? Bit of a nightmare.
Playing football, Matt was in goal, and basically just accidents happen, and he broke his hand, basically. So Dan was just like, shit, that's mental. I better learn the set so that we don't have to cancel the tour.
Yeah, right.
So he did, in about an hour, learned the whole set, did it in Southampton. And then last night he just spent all day practicing with him. Yeah, and it's actually going really well. Like, it sucks for Matt, like we all miss him and wish he was playing the shows and stuff. But Dan's doing a killer job. It's just a lot of work for him. I honestly don't know how he's doing it, but.
During the same tour, Drop Dead Clothing and Architects made a collab together, which I thought was awesome. But you want to know what's even more awesome? How Architects were killing it live. It was overall a very good year for Architects, but the question had to be asked: how will the next album sound like? Because, not to be negative, but the fans really wanted something more similar to Hollow Crown, right? They wanted something heavier, which brings us to November 2011, when Architects officially released a brand new single called Devil's Island. It was a very big deal because it was a return to form. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't the early mathcore Architects, but it was definitely way heavier than what we've heard on the Here and Now, so everybody was happy. Then they kept touring, killing it for the rest of the year with a great tour. Same goes for 2012, killing it, you know, sick live performances. Which brings us in May, when Architects officially released Daybreaker. This album is incredible. Truly, it has everything that the Here and Now was lacking, in my opinion. It really sounded like Architects, you know. It just felt right, basically. And a big reason for that is, back during that era when the band was playing the Here and Now live to promote it, they realized that they missed playing heavy music.
Well, I think it was us to a certain extent, but it was kind of like what we were listening to at the time. And I think like what you listen to shouldn't necessarily completely influence you as a band. Yeah. You know, we were listening to so much like melodic music at that time that we kind of wanted to see what it was like to try and go down the melodic band route. But we just enjoy being heavy, and we enjoy playing heavy music, and it's just so much more fun for us on stage to be doing heavy songs instead of like softer songs. And I think maybe the next record will go even heavier than on the last record, and who knows what will happen.
So in terms of recording process for this one, they took the decision to assemble the very same team who had worked on Hollow Crown and attempted to recapture a similar vibe, with of course a new vision and the addition of each individual progression over the years. Their engineer, John Mitchell, felt like this album should have been released after Hollow Crown, and I agree. I think it would have been the perfect follow-up. Architects were finally back in their metalcore zone. It was bouncier, catchier, and overall just more intense. While still being very emotional. This record just had so much more personality, you know? It sounded like Architects 2.0, if you will. In terms of reception, Daybreaker did very well. In fact, it charted even more. The reviews were mixed, but it was a normal thing with metalcore, as I said earlier. They also had some great guest vocals, including their good friend Ollie Sykes, who actually came to perform with them a couple of times. Then they released an official video for the song Alpha Omega. Again, nothing crazy, but I thought it was a pretty cool concept. But before moving on, I completely forgot to mention that Tim, right before the release, decided to quit the band and was later replaced by Josh Middleton, the frontman of Sylosis. Once again, I'd say it was an amazing year for Architects, doing awesome tours around the world, so much so that they called one the Daybreaker Almost World Tour because they were going in so many places around the world. They also got featured in Bus Invader and like a million different interviews. The following year, in 2013, they released an official documentary, which is a great watch, especially if you care about that specific era of the band, behind the scenes, what they were going through and all that. I really recommend. They did the Vans Warped Tour and got featured on Bus Invader again. So yeah, all in all, 2013 was a great year for Architects. They were touring, still on Daybreaker, doing well, living the dream, but it was also a very important milestone because they decided to leave Century Media and go with Epitaph Records instead, which might not sound like a big deal, but after all those years, when you take a big decision like that, you know, there's a lot to consider, but the band seemed really happy. We'll get to that. Now that the band wanted to sound heavier, they decided to switch things up a bit and go to a different studio with different producers, Henry Udd and Frederick Nordstrom. I'm probably butchering their name, but they're both extremely talented and responsible for many great albums. Which brings us to March 2014, when Architects officially released Lost Forever, Lost Together. What an album, am I right? I mean, you could clearly see the evolution and you could tell they were getting closer and closer to the iconic Architects signature sound, if you will. It's also really impressive given what they were going through at the time. We'll get to that also in a moment. I think Sam really, once again, outperformed himself. Like, his clean vocals really sounded angry and powerful. The screams were on point. Musically, every single riff was catchier and bouncier. It was also the official return of the breakdowns. It's kind of hard to explain, but everything was just superior. It's like each member just stepped up their game and rode to their full individual potential in a way. It was amazing to see, and let me tell you, Lost Forever, Lost Together charted everywhere. It truly was a turning point for the band, reaching a new level of success.
It's been an unexpected success.
It's weird to be doing so. We've obviously toured quite a lot this year, and it's weird to kind of have these sort of. They were quite rare. We'd come on stage and be like, "Wow, that was insane," and now it seems to be like quite regular that we come on stage. Quite shocked. We're still quite shocked by what's going on.
We haven't really done a bad show this year. That's a lie. We've done a few, but no, it's been.
But normally, it's a lot of bad ones and a few good ones, so it's flipped, which is weird. It's still weird.
They apparently gave a lot of credit to their new label, Epitaph.
Just everything about this release compared to all our previous releases has just been done so much better. Like, it's good having a label that actually want to really push your band and really help you grow. And I think we can attribute a lot of the success of the record to having a more enthusiastic label behind us.
I guess that you are more of a priority for them than you were for Century Media, because Century Media is more of a so-called pure metal or extreme metal label.
We felt like we stuck out like a sore thumb on Century Media because it would be only us that really sounded like that, and a lot of the other bands, as you say, are more just straight up metal bands, and it just didn't feel right, really, did it?
They really care, Epitaph, and the day we found out where we charted, we went to their offices and they bought us some cake and had loads of balloons set up, and it was like, I don't know, it was just nice because it obviously meant something to them as well as it did to us, and they were just really stoked that we were happy, and it was nice to be supported on that end, instead of, because you hear so many bands that are like, oh, we hate our label, and we were definitely one of those bands for a long time, so it's nice to actually be able to be really stoked on who's looking after you.
During another interview, Tom took time to explain why they pick a new direction for this album.
Well, I don't think that Daybreaker is a bad album. I just think that it was, when we came to play the songs live, there was too many that were slow or just didn't have the energy to fit into our set live. So that was a big thing for me going to the new record. I was like, I want to write a record that's going to have 10 or 11 songs that we can play live and will keep up the energy of the show. Which ones that I have a lot of songs to pick from, and I think that's shown. Like, we've gone on this tour, and from day one, 7 new songs went in the set because they just lend themselves well to it. For me, that's the main difference. I just think we had to dial back the, we have this bass sound, and we like to branch out from it and try different things. But I think we had just to cool off on that a little bit, focus on just how it was going to be live, and then if we wanted to have little bits of experimentation or anything like that, then just have splashes of it rather than oh, here's a whole song, because there were songs on Daybreaker that never stood a chance of getting in our set, and that was, in retrospect, to me, a mistake.
He also explained the meaning behind the title of the album.
I mean, people can take it how they want, really, but for me, I've had personal problems in my life where I suppose, and maybe it's selfish or unfair, but I sort of struggled with my own personal things, but almost the realisation that everyone's got their own baggage to deal with was a source of comfort, and you don't feel so alone in it. And for me, now at the point where I'm at in my life, I think one of the things that scares me most is the direction sort of we're headed as a species, with the destruction of our ecosystem, and that feeling of powerlessness, I suppose, in the political process. Broken democracy really is where we're at, and that's scary for me. But again, if we're gonna fuck our planet up, fuck our home up, or whatever, then we're all gonna go down together in that. And I suppose that's another sort of So I guess it's about whatever your problem is, people are going to be in the same boat, I guess, and maybe that's selfish, but that's something I felt. We were all going crazy in the studio and struggling with, I don't know, I guess maybe the pressure of it, but almost just having my bandmates around and knowing that we're a team going through that was we're all in it together, I guess. So yeah, for me it's a few things, and people could apply it in a different way, but
That's your opinion about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's. I don't know. There's a few ways I can interpret it, but I think I wanted it to be like there's maybe a negative in there, but it's also like ultimately a positive thing, you know. And that was something that I wanted. I wanted that to be clear, you know.
It's such an amazing interview, and the next part I'm going to share is a bit more emotional, but I felt like it was really important because Tom was explaining the inspiration behind the song Cancer.
The lyrics are something that I wrote when I got diagnosed with melanoma, skin cancer. And I did that, and I'd never written about anything personal before. A lot to do with the fact that I don't sing the lyrics, so it doesn't make sense really. But I had a month where, after being diagnosed, I was basically waiting on results. I had the surgery on my leg, and I didn't know if the cancer had spread around my body or if I had any tumours or anything like that. So it was a really troubling month, of course. And just at some point during that month, I did think, like, I just wonder what would come out if I tried to write a song about it. And you know, I went through a few different things, and because your mind races to all sorts of extremes, worst case scenario to, you know, I'm gonna die, and then the next minute you're like, everything's gonna be okay, So I did go through a few different versions of the song, because sometimes I would feel like it was too bleak, and I wanted it ultimately to have some sort of positive message, because I think it's something that touches a lot of people, and I certainly didn't want it to be insensitive. I've certainly haven't seen the darkest side of the disease. So I didn't want to talk about it as if like I'm some sort of, you know, I've survived this crazy thing, because it could have killed me, but I never truly suffered for it, I guess. So I ended up, you know, going back and tinkering with the lyrics a little bit afterwards, because once I got told that it hadn't spread and I was okay, it's impossible to then go back and write in the same mindset you had, because you're taken out of that, like, sort of, you're not scared anymore. And so I didn't want to change it too much, because I felt like it would be sort of, I was touching something that I could never go back to that headspace I was in when I wrote it, so I didn't want to change it too much because it was honest. But at the same time, yeah, I didn't want it to be too bleak, so it was an interesting one.
Unfortunately, as we all know, Tom tragically passed away a few years after that. We'll get to it later, but I wanted to take a moment and say that just as I was making the video, watching interviews, reading the comments and stuff like that, he was such an amazing human being. I mean, he was so freaking funny.
I like to release terrible records. That way when we release the next one, people are like, well, it's still shit, but it's a bit better.
Expected.
Yeah, it's just another run-of-the-mill piece of shit.
To go back to the band, during the same year, they all decided to go vegan after watching documentaries and stuff like that, and they decided to fight against animal cruelty, specifically targeting SeaWorld and similar organizations.
SeaWorld is an evil place, and through the help of Blackfish and the Cove, they've seen a 13% drop in sales. Stocks are being sold. Countless people are now standing up and doing what they can, and I just think it's crazy that it's taken this long for people to realise that animals, whether it be an orca, a dolphin, a turtle, whatever is in SeaWorld, it's crazy. These animals are so beautiful and so intelligent, and for them to be taken from their home and put in tiny little cages is crazy. I mean, the fact that they say that a whale can survive up to however many 40 years in SeaWorld. That's the longest they've apparently lived for, and they've just found an orca that's been alive for 104. And SeaWorld go around telling people that it's fine that they die at 4 and 40 and however long they make it. It's crazy. I think the whole place needs to be shut down. But again, with zoos as well, I think no animal should be kept in a cage. It's crazy.
Believe it or not, I was about to include other parts of interviews, but I'm like, This video seriously is gonna last like 50 hours if I keep going, so let's move on. So then they released 3 official videos for the song Naysayer, Broken Cross, and Gravedigger. 2014 was a very rewarding year for Architects, not only because of the incredible album reception, but because they literally won an award.
We're blown away. We never thought this would happen when we were writing this record.
What it means to us to win.
Loads.
Lots.
More than most, I think. We've been a band for a very long time, and we've been a band that has never done anything for anything like this. We've just done it for ourselves, and to be able to tour and to be able to play shows and for it to be recognised after this amount of time means so much to us.
We're legends.
We'll be up next year for the Legend Award.
Yeah.
If you ask me, it was extremely well deserved after all these years of hard work and dedication. Speaking of which, in 2015, they did an amazing headliner with Every Time I Die, Bless the Fall, and Counterparts. They also hired a second guitar player, Adam Christensen, because at the time, Josh from Silosis was only there to replace Tim temporary, like it was just for a while, I believe. During that era, they sounded better than ever live. I mean, Sam's voice was just incredible. And like if all of that wasn't enough, they were also in the process of writing a new album. So they went back in the same studio with the same producers, which makes sense with the success of Lost Forever, Lost Together. The guys were all very excited about the album, saying they felt good about the recording process, they had time to breathe and be creative. They were overall just very positive and hopeful.
On this one, it's like, right, we knew what we were doing there, now let's push it times 10. Like, it has to be truly special to beat what we managed to achieve with Lost Forever.
Which brings us to May 2016, when Architects officially released All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us. Once again, great album. I mean, in case you didn't notice, Architects pretty much always deliver. They have yet to release something bad in my opinion. When you put top tier musicians together in a room, all real and honest about their art, who care about their craft and put everything they have on the line, something great has to happen. That's just how it is. I think this one is heavier musically, mostly because of the rage and anger expressed through the entire thing. I mean, the name of the album, the things they were going through at the time. To me, it's clear that they were processing a lot of very emotional things. Sam's voices sounded better than ever, as I said earlier. Every single riff was on point. The song structures were more refined. It was Architects on top of their game, and I can see why they were so confident about it. Also, now with some new perspective, it's great to see how close they were to write Doomsday. The album art was very different than what they usually do, which was pretty interesting.
The cool thing about the artwork is it's really kind of like finding, it wasn't really till after and we kind of all sat back with the record and the artwork that we realized that it was really kind of the light in the darkness and how you can really invert that through, you know, it'd be very easy to sit there and just be like, oh, it's a very bleak record, but then once you sort of invert it and look around it at the other side, there is this light in it. It's just hidden underneath, and it's really sort of just about, you know, how us as humans have kind of blinded ourselves with greed, and we're blinding ourselves from love and happiness, and
almost like enlightenment, I guess.
I really love the meaning behind the artwork, but if I'm completely honest, I think I would have gone with something like this instead, just to keep the band's image and all. I mean, no disrespect at all, it's just an opinion. During the same interview, Sam explained how we can change the world and our perspective.
It really starts with like empathy and being an empathetic person and caring for everything and not just caring about yourself, almost putting yourself, you know, you have to love yourself, but also just loving everything and kind of trying to find the light in the darkness in every situation, and just understanding that whatever's happening is meant to happen. It's whatever's happening right now. We're supposed to be here having this conversation, and maybe there's someone that's watching this that goes like, oh, okay, I was meant to see it. You know, it's impossible to say, but just open your eyes a bit. I think that's the main thing. Open your eyes to the universe and look out for the signs, because they're there, they're all around you. And
I mean, you can hate on their music as much as you want, which is kind of weird if you do and you're watching this, but it's undeniable how every single member of that band is a genuine, good-hearted person with good intentions. Of course, you won't be surprised to hear that the album was extremely well received. Once again, I sound like a broken record, I'm aware, but it is what it is. And believe it or not, it was charting even more. Once again, the reviews were not mixed this time around. Everybody agreed that it was a great album, and it was a win, and again, very well deserved for Architects. They released another bunch of official videos. They were all pretty cool. They all did very well, as usual. Unfortunately, as we all know, a few months after the release, Tom tragically passed away in August, which left the band and the entire scene devastated. He was not only a major part of the band, but an amazing human being who made everyone around him smile and laugh all the time. He was the kind of person to give us hope, to remind us that there's a lot of good in this world. I don't know what your beliefs are in general, it's none of my business, but I'm a very spiritual person, and I sincerely believe that Tom is still with the band in ways that are kind of difficult to put into words. Every single time you listen to Architects, every performance they're doing, his energy is right there with us, because without him, none of it would even be happening in the first place. He left his mark, an amazing legacy that should be celebrated and remembered always. Then, not too long after that, Dan wrote a very beautiful and powerful statement on Facebook announcing that they would still embark on their upcoming tours in Tom's honor. I won't read the full thing, but if you want, you can just press pause and read it. It's also available online. I thought it was a very beautiful statement. The incredible thing was that it wasn't only the band grieving, it was the entire fan base. It felt like everybody was in it together.
And it's also very important that you know just how special Tom was as a person. Because every time I stand on stage, I talk about the incredible songs that he wrote, the incredible lyrics that he wrote, but every single person on this stage, every single person on this stage and every single person that Tom came into contact with has a lesson that they learned from him. And that's not just people that were close with him. People that liked our band. Tom gave every single person the time of day. So thank you on behalf of him for letting us keep his music alive.
As they were going through the pain of grieving and touring at the same time, believe it or not, they still found the strength and courage to write music, to keep doing what they love despite what was happening, which to me is just incredible. I mean, you gotta respect that. But they were not only working on regular music or whatever, they were working on a song that would change metalcore forever. a song that is still referred to as one of the most influential tracks of all time, Doomsday.
Remember when hell had frozen over? They say the gods are young, no use in saying what it's done.
It was their moment, their victory. After all the things they went through together, they finally got to the top. Architects became one of the most popular metalcore bands in the world. And I gotta say, as I'm making this video, this song hits differently. It's so powerful and emotional, and I finally realized that it wasn't only the iconic riff or the catchiness, it was the message behind the song, it was the intensity and the pure raw emotion in it. And talking about pure raw emotion, in early 2018, as they were playing a very big show, Sam completely broke down on stage. The crowd took over. It's one of the most moving things I've ever seen in my life. Dan also made an incredible speech during that show.
And on behalf of Tom, I would like to say thank you, because he would be tearing up looking at 10,000 people. He would not fucking believe it.
As much as it was a very painful and difficult era for the band, they still pushed through, wrote music together, completed their album, and in November 2018, they officially released Holy Hell. I mean, what an album. To me, it was kind of like the previous album, but cranked up and just more powerful and emotional. You can definitely hear all the anger in Sam's voice. The instrumental itself is a roller coaster of emotions, going from heavy riffs to emotional parts and bouncy, catchy melodies. Truly, it's incredible. I know Doomsday is the song that everybody remembers and it's great, but there are tons of amazing other moments on the album. This album truly was an important moment in time. It completely redefined what mainstream metalcore would later become. I mean, every single band you hear on Octane or anything like that is influenced by Architects in some ways. The lyrics were written by Dan, who I think did a great job. I mean, Tom wrote incredible songs over the years, so the fact that his brother was able to deliver like that was very impressive, I think. In terms of reception, the reviews were almost perfect, which never happens, and Holy Hell charted even more, which honestly I thought wasn't even possible at that point. I cannot emphasize enough how impressive it is for them to release such a masterpiece in terrible conditions. Not only that, but they had such a beautiful mindset and a positive attitude.
I hope that the songs on the next record will mean something to people that have been through something like we've been through, and that's something that everyone most likely will go through. You know, you will lose someone you love. And
I think we were having this chat the other day, it's like the certainty in everyone's life, and it's a thing that's never, like, you're not taught how to deal with grief or how to do anything. It's just, but everyone is going to lose someone at some point, and it's, yeah.
And I think the important thing is to learn to sort of acknowledge that pain and that suffering that we all have to go through. And yeah, you might have to do things to to stagger that process, you might need to have a drink or whatever from time to time, but like you can't bury it forever. It's something that you will have to address at some point, and that's kind of, I think that'll be a big theme on the record. Is just acknowledgement, honoring that discomfort, and learning to sit with it, and learning from that experience, as opposed to letting it destroy you. Sounds dramatic, but you know, it can really mess people up.
They also explain how they were processing things as they were playing the album on tour.
Can you tell me a little bit how the experience has been in the Holy Hell cycle?
The Holy Hell cycle's been a little bit easier.
Okay.
Because when we were doing All Our Gods, obviously that's Tom's record. Mm-hmm. You know, he's all over it. They were his lyrics, and you know, he wrote everything about it. So it was essentially touring his record. So that brings up a lot of stuff every night. You know,
sure,
and the success from that record, as you say, it feels quite strange. But with Holy Hell, I mean, it's still been very difficult, but it's almost been easier because they're songs that we've written about the situation.
Yeah.
So it's more cathartic than the last tour. But then also at the same time, I think when you go through something like that, you have to grow as people. Otherwise, then, you know, what's the point? So yeah, we're just grateful to be in the position we're in.
It was yet another turning point for the band. Don't get me wrong, they were already very popular before that, but it really got to another level. They won a ton of awards, including Best British Live Act, which completely makes sense because their live performances were insane. Then they came back with a brand new single in October 2020.
I do my best, but everything seems ominous. We're just a bunch of fucking animals.
I think Animals is one of the best, if not the best song they've ever written, and I know it might surprise you because I love raw, heavy deathcore, but I gotta say, I think I've explained this in a few videos, but when I'm listening to a band like Architects or Bring Me the Horizon, it's another part of my brain. It's the same part that loves new metal or pop punk like Blink-182, if that makes sense. And I know a lot of you look at pop structure like an easy thing to do or whatever. It's probably the hardest thing to write. You know, doing something catchy and memorable while being simple that sticks in your head is not an easy task, and I don't know, to me that's kind of what they did with Animals, and I could be wrong, but I think it's still one of their biggest songs to this day. Also, remember when I said that Bring Me the Horizon and Architects were evolving in a similar way? I mean, which brings us to February 2021, when Architects released their 9th studio album called For Those That Wish to Exist. Very different, but good. I mean, they went super modern, similar to what you would hear today with bands like Bring Me or even newer Architects. That's kind of the direction they took later on. This one is half and half, I would say. You know, it sounds like the previous album. It's a mix of the previous album with modern elements, which works very well, I think. I'm guessing it's mostly due to the fact that they produced the album themselves, and as we all know, they love to experiment and try new things. But you know what? It worked very well. I mean, yes, they added a lot of modern elements, electronics and whatnot, and as I've mentioned earlier, it's not my favorite thing, but on this specific album, I enjoyed it. They also had great guest vocalists, including Winston from Parkway Drive.
Cause I was afraid that I will never truly live. Cause I was afraid that I will never truly live. I never truly live. Say this shit with wisdom, let's go.
They came back to a more classic breakdown sound, which was great. They ended the album with an amazing acoustic song.
That's why we have to wonder.
Obviously, as usual, all the official videos were great, they all did well with millions of views. I don't have anything negative to say really, but I do want to mention that apparently a lot of fans were saying it sounded like Rammstein per moment, and I found an interview in which Sam explains the difference between ripping off and just being inspired.
We're used to bands ripping us off and taking our riffs and our sort of sounds, that we're aware that when we're writing music that is influenced by people like Rammstein, to not just take their riffs, to like actually just sort of be influenced by it and take sort of almost like have respect for them, you know, and kind of be like respectfully influenced by them, not just like taking the Sonne riff or the Du Hast riff, you know, trying to be like a band that could support them, you know, like a band, like if you went to go and see Rammstein and you saw us as a main support, then and if you liked that band, then maybe you would like our band, rather than someone just being like, hey, you can't steal my favorite band's riff, you know?
I really liked the artwork this time around, way cooler than the last one. Again, without trying to be negative or disrespectful, it's just an opinion. That being said, there was a little drama surrounding the album. You see, apparently another band kind of ripped it off, like doing a very similar cover, clearly, and a lot of people went after them, but not the band. It was Never Architects.
I remember seeing it. I remember seeing a band doing it, and I actually remember seeing people just really pile on this band and give them a load of hell, and it was like, it's not our vibe to sort of attack people and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, people, they may not have known, they may have known, they may have not thought it through. Like, people make mistakes. So yeah, we definitely are not the kind of band that would ever jump on someone doing something like that. And I think Dan in particular like did a post being like, I leave these guys alone. Like, I designed the front cover for the record and I'm flattered. So
the other band even apologized afterwards to the fans and all that. I'm sharing it just to show you how in many cases it's mostly the fans. Like, the bands are very often chill with those things, but the fans, you know, they go after people. As for the album reception, do I really have to show the charts and the reviews at this point? Apparently, it was still surprising to the band though.
It was a real like surprise for us, actually, like a real shock. We didn't think that we'd never had a top 10 record, let alone a number one. Like, the highest we'd ever gone in the UK was like 16. So yeah, for that reaction, it was crazy. What was nice actually is now coming off the back of that, being able to be in the studio together and being able to be creative, like that, being able to like really act upon the things that we missed from the last one. Kind of helps us feel like things are getting back to normal. And also it just means that when we go on tour, it's just going to be a really long set.
Another very cool thing I want to mention is a full circle moment they had later in 2021, back when Sam did vocals on the new Final Fantasy soundtrack. As I mentioned early in the video, Final Fantasy was a big inspiration to them, so I can only imagine how cool it was for Sam to perform and be on it. I'm pretty sure I said at least 1,000 times that they were amazing live, but if you need any more proof of it, here's an amazing orchestral performance they did during that era. I mean, they played a freaking breakdown with a full orchestral setting. Then, the following year, in 2022, Architects came back with a brand new album called The Classic Symptoms of a Broken Spirit.
This path is growing kinda narrow.
It was a good record, but if I'm honest, not my favorite. The reason is simple: they fully leaned into the more modern electronic elements that I've mentioned before, so it was way more in line with recent Bad Omens and stuff like that. It's good, it's not bad, I'm just saying it's less my thing. I prefer, you know, like, I'm not into futuristic sounding stuff in general. That being said, again, great album, great songs. I just preferred the more balanced thing they did on the previous one, you know? It was like half modern and half, you know, more of what they did in the past. Does that make sense? Am I making any sense? I mean, it's like it's 2 a.m. here at the moment, so... My favorite song is Doom Scrolling. Very catchy, great lyrics. In second position, we've got Deep Fake, a song that gave me some serious new metal vibes, and I'm here for it. As for the other videos, I won't go into many details. As usual, they were great. As for the album artwork, I'm not sure about it. To me, it looks more like an indie acoustic cover more than anything, but the band really liked it, and apparently a lot of thought went into it.
I felt like with this one, just really simplifying it, going with a new font and like a new start for the band was important. New logo, bringing back the double dash from Lost Forever. Yeah, I thought it was a cool thing to do, and I think actually when people get the record, they'll see the inside of the art is pretty cool as well. And yeah, we worked really hard actually getting it together, and it may look just pretty bare right now, but I think when actually people hold the record in their hands and they get to see the layers and stuff of it, they'll be pretty impressed.
During the same interview, they were asking Sam how we could do better as a society, and I really liked his answer.
What we could do better is just be kinder to each other, because we are constantly angry with each other, and the way that we discuss things and the way that our dialogue is with each other, like we're literally at war with people we don't know. The real issues and the real problems that we face are the people that are in control, and the governments and the people that set these rules and regulations. Those are the people that you should be angry at, not at the people that don't necessarily believe the same thing as you. I think like a conversation and actually being able to engage with someone that maybe doesn't necessarily think the same way as you shouldn't necessarily be an argument. It should just be we don't agree, but that doesn't mean you're a bad person. I think conversation is a thing that seems to have disappeared with social media. Everybody has these statements that they put out, and if you don't agree with that statement or you don't share that statement, then you're a bad person. So yeah, I think conversation and trying to sort of reach into other people and be like, we're together, we're all in this together. You know, it's not like if the end of the world comes, it's not like you survive and I die. Like we're all going to go through it together. So we all have the same issues, and we all have the same fate, I guess, at the end of the day. And you're only here once, so I think you've got to make the most of it. And yeah, I think just putting a bit of kindness out in the world, it may not seem like a big deal, but I think it does make a big change.
As much as the more modern electronic approach wasn't my thing, the album itself was very well received again. Then 2023 was another touring year for the band, and believe it or not, they got even better live. I know, Doomsday was 2 albums ago. Here's another song. At some point in 2023, Josh Middleton, who I'm realizing now was back in the band since 2017, and I completely forgot to mention it, I think. But anyway, he came back in the band, but now in 2023, he took the decision to leave, apparently because of some creative differences. During that period of time, the band did a lot of podcasts and interviews, and it was great to hear that they were in such a good place, both musically and mentally. Architects was finally healing, you know, with everything they went through. They were in a good place, things were looking up. And I'm saying they're still doing amazing. I'm just saying it was cool to see how the band was thriving after all they went through. Then, very recently, in February 2025, they released a brand new album called The Sky, The Earth, and All Between. Very solid album. Again, I'm gonna try to not repeat myself too much because, I mean, I've reviewed so many albums in one video. It's... I feel bad almost for people watching. It's like I'm using the same words. English is my second language. It's horrible on top of mispronouncing everything, but that's not the point. For this album, I really think it was kind of a mix of everything they did. I said on the previous album they went fully electronic and stuff like that. On this one, they kind of went back to their roots in many ways, which I really appreciated. I wouldn't review it as metalcore though, and I know a lot of people are gonna disagree, but to me, it's falling more into the new metal rock category, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. I just think this kind of music is meant to be played in a big stadium, right up there with Bad Omens and Sleep Token, Bring Me the Horizon, all that stuff. Musically, they had a lot of amazing breakdowns that somehow all sounded different. Very catchy hooks.
I could be the last one killing the pain. I could spend a lifetime skipping over landmines.
Bouncy riffs. It was apparently a very conscious decision to bring back certain elements from the previous album.
What was nice about this album was we had enough time away. When we did For Those That Wish to Exist, there was like a list of things we didn't want to do anymore. So it was a very conscious decision. And this album, we felt that we had enough time away from some of those qualities that we could bring them back. Yeah. But in a way that felt new.
So this album is basically a mix of everything they've ever done, which is not an easy thing to do when you've got over 10 albums, you know? It also explains why we've got a blast beat, very reminiscent of the early days of Architects in the very first song. And I gotta say, Sam's low vocals are my favorite by far. Oh, and I didn't mention the ballet thing, and it's a very big part of the band's lore. I apologize if you're like, what's happening? He's mentioning it now at the end of the video. It's just not my thing. And I don't want to be negative. I don't want to hate or anything. I mean, I'm a human being. I'm gonna dislike certain things. And when I first heard it back in, I don't remember, but like deathcore bands and metalcore bands would do that in like 2009, 10 maybe, and it was pretty cool. But it's been done so many times, and it became kind of this thing that bands are doing just to get reactors reaction, and there's merch with that. And I don't mean to be negative or anything, it's just not, I don't care for it. So why do I bring it up now, you might wonder? The reason is simple. On this album, specifically in the song Seeing Red, Sam did the bleh thing. Because he didn't do it for a while and fans were constantly asking for it. So he did it in the song, they released the video, and directly in the comments, they said, "Are you happy now?" Which instantly made me think of this. I'm definitely really old. As for the official videos, I think those are the best videos they've ever done. They look like movies, literally. It's awesome. Another very important thing to mention is that on this album, they've worked with the very talented Jordan Fish, which, if you pay attention, is pretty easy to tell. In a recent podcast, Sam was talking about the fact that it wasn't their first time working with him.
We had history with him, which is really special. When we did Doomsday, which was our first song after losing Tom and coming through everything, we did that song with him. Or we didn't do it with him. We wrote the song ourselves, and I remember we got the first mix back, and I remember Dan calling me, and he was like, "I need you to be really honest with me right now. What do you think of this song, where it's at?" And I just remember being like, "It's not good enough." And Dan said, "That's exactly how I feel. I'm going to call someone. I'm going to call Jordan. I think we could try and go with him, do some producing, and we'll get it there." He called Jordan, called me back, and then the next day, Jordan was like, "Come up to my house. Like, I'm at home, just come up to my house. We'll do the song together." So we went up to his house. We were there for a day, for a night, and then a full day, and then went home. We worked with him on Doomsday, and you could tell that he just cared about kind of like our journey and our story and where we were, and like how important that song was. And it's one of our best songs and a very important emotional moment.
Is it surprising to hear that Jordan worked with them on one of their most successful songs? I mean, in terms of reception and reviews, the album did better on the charts, which isn't surprising to me because, again, I think this album was better than the last one. As for now, I mean, it's Architects. They're killing it. They're one of the biggest bands in the world. I think we all know it. And I gotta say, after making this video, telling their story, reading about them, watching interviews, I'm honestly rooting for them. You know, they deserve every part of their success, and it's great to see them. Like, I'm curious to see what they're gonna do next. And yeah, it was a great experience getting to know that band. Because honestly, at first, this video was supposed to be called The Early Days of Architects. I was supposed to focus on the MySpace era. Maybe I would have stopped after Holocrown or something, but then I got invested in their story. I wanted to know what was happening next, and I just kept going and going, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be my longest video by far. Speaking of which, thank you so much for watching. It truly means the world, especially if you're still watching the end of that video, of this super long video of me mispronouncing everything, rambling and talking. Wow, I really appreciate you. This YouTube journey is just incredible in every ways, and I'll be honest, I've put a lot of work into this one. So again, if you want to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, really makes a difference. If you want to support at a higher level, the Patreon is the best way to do it. Also, feel free to comment. It's always great to read your stories, know about you guys. Sometimes can be just like a small thing like, oh, I was at that show, or I heard about this. Could be anything, really. We also have a Discord server, feel free to join our community, and we have a live deathcore podcast on Twitch every Wednesday. With all that being said, I'm finally gonna stop talking. I'll see you in the next one.